Hello students, welcome to my YouTube channel SWS Science with Shruti. I'm your Shruti ma'am, and as you can see today we're going to learn about the chapter Cell the Unit of Life. I'll be teaching this chapter based on the syllabus of ICC 9th Biology, but children of other boards can also take help of this particular chapter if they want. Okay, so I'll be starting off with the chapter without further ado. So let's get started, right? So this is a very, simple chapter because we have been learning about cells since we were in grade 6th, right? So this is kind of a revision chapter, but there are concepts in this chapter which we will be learning the first time. Okay. So if I ask my students to define cells, what are cells? Everyone will be able to able to tell the definition. I'm sure about that. And what are cells? They are nothing but the fundamental, structural, and functional unit of all living organisms. Unit of all living organisms. It's a very simple definition. We have been learning this definition since our childhood. But in this particular grade, I mean in ninth grade, you will be understanding the meaning of these words. What do we mean by fundamental? What do we mean by structural? What do we mean by functional? I'll be explaining this to you with the help of examples. Okay, we'll do that in a bit, in some time. We'll be doing that. But now I'm going to give you some important concepts about cells, some of which you may have learned earlier, some of which may be new to you. Okay, this is the first we have discussed the definition of cells. Okay, now we'll be understanding some properties of cells. See, cells are the smallest part. They are the smallest part of the body of any organism, right? Of the body of any organism. This is very simple. All living organisms are made up of cells. Of any organism. Just a second. Organism which is capable of independent existence. Which is capable of independent existence. This is very important. Just a second. Independent existence. So here this is very important. Please note this down, students. That is, cells are the smallest part which are present in the body of any living organism, because we know that all living organisms, be it plants, animals, or bacteria, or human beings, they are made up of cells, right? And these cells, they are the smallest part which is present in any living organism. But the important point over here is that the cells are capable of independent existence. What does this phrase mean? See, capable of independent existence. If we say this phrase, it means that the cells are capable of surviving alone without the help of any other thing. Okay, for example, if I say I am capable of independent existence, what does that mean? I don't need the help of anyone for my survival. I can survive on my own, right? Because why? See, I can eat my own food, right? I don't need the help of anyone else to eat the food. I don't need the help of anyone else to breathe air. I don't need the help of anyone else to excrete the waste products from my body, right? So I can say that I am capable of independent existence. Correct? Similarly, if we say that the cell is capable of independent existence, it means that the cells will be able to survive on its own. It does not need the help of anyone else. But here there is a small point which you need to understand. What is that point? See, if we talk about living organisms, there are two types of living organisms based on the number of cells with which they are made up of, right? There are unicellular living organisms, unicellular living organisms, and multicellular living organisms. Multicellular living organisms. So basically there are two different types of living organisms. One is unicellular and multicellular, where unicellular organisms are made up of one cell or single cell, I would write. They are made up of single cell, and multicellular organisms are made up of many cells, right? Correct? Now, if we take the example of multicellular organism, okay, we can take the example of human beings. We are made up of many cells, correct? Now, if we want to prove that this particular statement, whether it's true or false, that cells are the smallest part of the body of any organism which are capable of independent existence. They are capable of independent existence. They can stay alone. Okay. So, if we take the example of human beings, which are multicellular organisms, and we take the a skin cell. We take a skin cell from the human beings. Okay. And we take out that skin cell and we put that skin cell in a, in a particular environment which is suitable for its survival. We put it in a sustainable environment, or if I want to say that we put it in an environment which is providing it with all the environment, providing it with all the components necessary for survival. Okay, we take we take the example of human beings. We take a skin cell from that human being and we put it in an environment, and we take a skin cell. Okay, we take a single skin cell from that human being and we put it in an environment which is providing it with all the components which are necessary for its survival. Will that single skin cell, okay, will that single skin cell be able to survive in that environment? The chances are low. Chances of survival is very low. Chances of survival is very low. Okay. Yes. If we take multiple skin cells, if we take many skin cells, and put it in an environment which has all the components necessary for their survival, then the cells might be able to survive. But if we take a single skin cell and put it in an environment where the components necessary for the survival is for its survival is present, then the chances of survival of that skin cell, that single skin cell, is very low. It will have a tendency to die. It will have a tendency to die. Okay. Why? See, In multicellular organisms, what happens is we are made up of multiple cells, right? Many cells we are made up of, and there is a division of labor between the different cells. For example, the skin cells, they are responsible for covering our body and providing us protection. Correct? Similarly, the particular neurons, for example, the nerve cells, they are actually responsible for helping us, sense the environment around us, as well as for sensing any changes which is happening inside our body as well, right? The red blood cells, for example, is responsible for carrying what? Carrying the oxygen, right? So, different cells in our body or in the body of a multicellular living organism is specialized for different types of function. So, we can say that there is division of labor among the cells of a multicellular living organism, right? So, because of this division of labor, what happens is a group of cells, or a particular group of cells will depend upon the other group of cells for some or the other component, right? They have been habituated. The cells of a multicellular organism have been habituated to stay together, to stay and work and carry out their function together. Now, if we take a single skin cell and put it in an environment where it is, where all the components necessary for its survival is provided, there the cell will have everything around it, but the cell will not have other cells support, right? The cell will not be able to interact with the other cells because there are no other cell present in that environment, right? It's the only single cell. So that cell will have a tendency to die. Understood? But if we take the example of a single cell, for example, we take the bacteria. Okay. Bacteria are unicellular organisms. That is, they are made up of single cells. Single bacteria means single cell. Now, these organisms, they have been surviving as a single cell only, right? Now, if we take a bacteria and we put it in an environment, we put that bacteria in an environment, in a similar environment, where all the necessary components necessary for its survival are provided. In that case, the bacteria is provided is actually put in an environment. I'm writing environment, okay? That is suitable environment, because the space is less over here. So I'm writing in this way. If we put the bacteria in a suitable environment where it gets all the components necessary for its survival, and we take a single bacteria, we take a single bacteria and put it in a suitable environment, in that case, the bacteria will be able to survive. Because you know what? Because the bacteria is habituated to stay alone. It has always been habituated to stay alone, so it will not have a problem in adjusting in the environment where all the necessary requirements, necessary components for its survival is provided. Understood? So here the statement which we have learned, that is, cells are the smallest part of the body of any organism which is capable of independent existence. The term independent existence is true for the multicellular organisms. Okay, but it is not 100% true for multicellular organisms, right? The term which is independent existence, capable of independent existence, this particular phrase is true for unicellular organisms, but it is not 100% true for the multicellular organisms. Because why? I have explained the concept. Okay, and yes, in one way, we can say that this statement is true for both unicellular as well as multicellular organism, because you know it is the cell which is the smallest living unit of the of any living organism. It is the smallest unit of any living organism. It is the cell. Okay, so we can say that cell is the smallest. Just a second, I'll change the color so that it will be easier for you. It is the smallest, we can say it is the smallest living unit, living unit of any living organism, of any living organism. What does this mean? That is, the cell, below cell, there is nothing. We can't say anything living if we, go below the cell. Below the cell means if we cut the cell. Okay, if we cut through the cell, and if we take an eukaryotic cell, and if we want to say, okay, come, vacuole, come out, and you will be surviving alone. No, the vacuole won't be able to show independent existence. The vacuole has to be present inside the particular cell, and it has to have its other partners or other cellular organelles. It has to have the presence of other cellular organelles for, carrying out its function. Understood? So we can say that the cell is the smallest living unit of any living organism. Okay? Understood? Now let's move forward. Right? See, as I said, this concept is, I hope it's clear to you. It is that is, cells are the smallest part of the body of any living organism which is capable of independent existence. Independent existence, we can say that the cell is the smallest living unit of any living organism. If we cut through the cell and take out its organelles, will that organelle survive alone? No, it will not. Okay. So this concept, I hope it's clear to you. Now, as you can see that, if we take the example of different living organisms, be it an animal, be it human. Okay, if we take the example of human beings. Human beings are composed of thousands and thousands of cells, right? If we take the example of humans, we are made up of different types of cells, the cells of the cells which make up the skin. Okay, I'll just change the color. The cells which make up the skin. Okay, then after that, the cells which make up the brain or muscle or bones, right? If we take the examples of human, or we can take the examples of plants as well, right? The different parts of a plant, for example, the different parts of a plant, for example, the leaf, flower, roots, leaf, flower, roots, these are all made up of cells. All are made up of cells. Okay, just made of cells. I gave an example. Okay, now see, of course, every cell, always remember, every cell, every cell has its own life, has its own life. Means what? Means every cell will survive for a definite period of time. This means that every cell will be able to survive for a definite period of time. Period of time, after which they will die. They will, after which they will die. Okay, very simple. Okay. Now, of course, the old and the weak cells, what happens to the old and the weak cells? They continuously die. The old and the weak cells, old and the weak cells, which are present in the body, they continuously die. They continuously die. Continually die, we can say. And then they are replaced by new cells. They are replaced by new cells. Of course, if the old cells die, then who will carry out their function? Of course, we have to replace them with the new cells. And how are new cells formed? By the process of cell division. We'll discuss about this topic also. We'll discuss about cell division also. Okay. They're replaced by new cells which are formed by cell division. Nothing is it. It is nothing. Like cell division is nothing. I'll just show you here only. That is just a second. Let me choose a color. Suppose this is a cell. Okay. What happens is the cell will grow. How does cell division happens? I'm explaining cell division. Okay. The cell will grow first. Grow in size. Growth happens to the cell. That is, the cell will grow in size. The components inside the cell will increase. And then what the cell will do? The cell will split itself and form two daughter cells. The cell will split itself and form two daughter cells. Okay. This, we can say, this is the parent cell. Okay. This is simple cell division. Understood? Okay. Now, there is another important point you should remember, that is all living organisms. All organisms, including us, including human beings, we have start our lives as a single cell. Okay. All living organisms, including human beings, we start our life as a single cell, and that single cell is called the zygote. It's called the, wait, I'll give a different color. It's called the zygote. How is this zygote formed? Always remember this. All living organisms, they start their lives as a single cell. Not one, two, not three, not four, but single cell. Be it unicellular organism, be it multicellular organism, all living organ. Obviously, unicellular organism, there is nothing called zygote. Okay, remember that. All living organisms will not include unicellular organisms, because unicellular organisms are themselves made up of only one cell. Okay, so there is nothing to talk about unicellular organisms in this respect. Yes, how will unicellular organism multiply itself? By this process of cell division. Unicellular organisms are able to grow and multiply themselves by the process of cell division, where a single cell grows and forms the parent cell, and this parent cell then splits itself to form daughter cells. That's it. To form two daughter cells. Always remember. Two daughter cells. Okay. Two daughter cells. Not any number of daughter cells. Four or six or eight. No. One cell will give rise to two daughter cells. One parent cell will give rise to two daughter cells. Always remember that. But here, in this particular context, as I say, all organisms including human beings, I'm talking about multicellular organisms. Okay. Which are capable of undergoing sexual reproduction. I'll also write this particular point. Sexual reproduction. Sexually reproducing organisms. I write it this way so that you don't get confused. Okay. Sexually reproducing organisms. Here I am trying to write. Here all organism means sexually. I'm talking about sexually reproducing organisms. I'm talking about them. Okay. They obviously we are human beings, we are also sexually reproducing organisms, and we start our life as a single cell which is called the zygote. How is this zygote formed? Obviously, see, from the mother. Okay, I will choose a different color. Just a second. I'll choose there from the mother. A particular, cell, a particular specialized cell. We'll discuss about that specialized cell later, but a particular specialized cell is formed which is called the ovum. Okay. The mother, from the mother this ovum is obtained, and from the father a specialized cell is obtained which is called the sperm. Okay. These are the reproductive cells or the sex cells. And this ovum and this sperm, this ovum and this sperm will actually fuse to form a single cell which is called the zygote. Ovum and sperm will fuse to form the single cell which is called the zygote. Okay, I'm giving you glimpses so that the concepts are not, you don't mug up the concepts. That's it. Fine. So let's move forward. Now we are going to discuss about some more properties of the cells. That is, first property is obviously the cells are very small, right? They are microscopic. Cells are very small. They are microscopic, right? They're too small to be seen with naked eyes, right? So they cannot be seen with naked eyes. Cells are very small. They are microscopic, so they cannot be seen with naked eyes, right? So how did, or I would say that how were we able to see the cells? Okay, so basically because the cells are microscopic in nature and we cannot see them with our naked eyes, so we did not, we did not know that the cells actually existed. Okay, we did not know, we were not aware of the existence of cells because of their microscopic nature. We were not aware about the existence of cells. Until what? Until, until what happened? Until the invention of magnifying devices happened. You know what this means? The cells always had existed, right? We are existing means the cells also existed, but because the cells were microscopic, we and because they are so small, we are very unable to see them with our naked eyes. So we were not aware only that the cells actually are there. There is something called cells. We were not aware of it until The magnifying devices were invented, and which magnifying device is used for observing the cells? It's nothing, it's none other than the microscope. Microscopes. Okay. So the invention of the microscopes actually led us to know about the cells, to go into the world of the cells. What are cells? Understood? So the concept is very simple, right? And I hope you're enjoying the session. Okay. So we'll keep today's lecture short and sweet, right? Because there are concepts which I have discussed, which you might feel a bit easy or difficult or new, right? You go through these small concepts which I have discussed today, and we will learn about the microscopes in our next class, right? We'll take the lessons in a short parts so that all your concepts gets cleared. You can watch them. I'll upload them in a playlist so that in case you want to watch them together, all the lectures you can do that, right? So I will take your leave for today, and I'll continue this lecture and start off with microscopes, with the discussion about microscopes in my next class. We'll complete microscopes in the next class. Okay. So until then, keep studying, keep smiling, and enjoy life. Thank you.